So I've been thinking a lot lately about how beginners can start an Amazon FBA private label business, but not have to invest, say, $4,000 or $5,000 in startup costs for inventory, advertising, and all of that. And I've kind of always been of the opinion that you should be starting with at least 300 to 500 units. You should have $4,000 to $5,000 to invest into the business. And if you don't, you shouldn't start. But over the past few months, I've kind of changed how I think about starting an Amazon FBA business, especially if you are a beginner. And so I've been thinking more and more about this, and I've kind of come to the conclusion that you can very well start a private label business with a couple $1,000, start with 50 units, start with 100 units. You just have to understand that this is more of a test rather than it is a proper launch. And the more I've thought about this, the more I've realized that it's actually not the worst idea to start with a lower budget, as long as, again, you realize that this is more of a test launch. But if for some reason you're going about this on your own and the product completely flops, well, you've lost a couple $1,000, which really is not a big deal. Now, if you are going to launch with a much lower budget, you have to realize these few things. Number one, it's very likely you'll run out of stock, and so you'll have to re-rank your product, which is usually a bit of a hassle. But if you're starting with 50 units, at least you're still getting the kind of proven data back from what keywords are working for PPC. You're going to gain reviews from those 50 units. And so by the time you reorder and do a second launch to re-rank, it will be a lot easier because you'll have that proven data and you'll have reviews. You also have to understand that this initial launch, again, this is more of a test. This is not going to be what changes your life financially, but at least you're validating these things ahead of time. And then lastly, just understand that because you're doing a bit of a test first, it's going to take a little bit longer to see significant results. And again, that is okay, because what matters is you are starting the business, you are testing, you are validating, and then you can kind of go full force ahead. And so this is a bit of a new way I've thought about starting an Amazon FBA business. And I actually do think this is a very viable method, especially because just overall, we've been able to save a lot of money with AI. And so like, you don't actually need to start with thousands of dollars as much as you had to, say, a year or two ago. But if you want to start small, you can just understand those things that I've mentioned.